The YouTubes, what is going on? You know, I never wear these when I do these intros, and I don't even wear them when I do this video, so I'm going to take them off now. What's going on, YouTube, and welcome back for the final Spring Split regular season Baron Respawn timer, where I will power rank the LCS going into playoffs, and not a lot changed between week 5 and week 6, but there's at least a little bit of a shakeup, particularly towards the top, and then a little bit in the middle following some results. So, I'm sure you're all very excited as to what's going to happen and who is in the top slot. So let's find out. To kick this thing off, we are going to be starting out with Cloud9 reclaiming the #1 spot after losing 3 in a row and against CLG. I called it, by the way. They've got themselves back in shape for playoffs. They at least get a seemingly easier matchup to start things off, and the confidence around the team seems pretty high. The performances they have put in and the victories that they got this last weekend are pretty good, and they also have a top 3 player arguably in each individual role, and their macro play as a team is phenomenal once they do get down the stretch. Probably going to be rooting for TSM in their matchup against Team Liquid so that they'll face off against TSM, but either way, it's a good matchup for them against 100 Thieves. Expect a 3-0, potentially a 3-1. Another team moving up, Team Liquid takes the #2 spot, and they're right where they need to be for playoffs as well. They have the best chance of beating Cloud9, which is why C9 would probably rather play TSM, but they do have to get by TSM first, which also not going to be easy. Following the spring performance from what should be MVP Alfari, this team has really been able to rely on him and let his prowess in this meta let the rest of the team do whatever they want to do. Santorin gets to play PvE. It bodes very well for this squad. You got to keep an eye on them, as they will not have an easy schedule by any means, facing the other two top two teams, likely one of them twice in the playoffs, if they want to walk away with some hardware. Which means dropping out of the top spot is going to be the next team, TSM, that will be facing off against Team Liquid here in the opening round of playoffs. They almost exclusively drop to this position because of the fact that they don't seem kitted to be able to contest with Cloud9 as well as Team Liquid does, and they also lost to Evil Geniuses. So really, it's right about where they belong. In contrast, TSM, as I said last week, has a team that can virtually beat about anybody in the league, but they will have a time struggling against the 2 teams above them, even though they were able to claw back in that game against Cloud9. They just like Team Liquid. But in a best-of series against either one of them, I don't like TSM's odds. After this, pretty much everything is stable and stationary until we get down a little bit further. Dignitas coming in at #4, right where they were. Most of the rest of the standings, they finished #4 because it just makes sense earlier in the split. The lines was kind of drawn somewhere between the 3rd and 4th place with EG being up there. And now it's a very definitive, okay, there's the top 3 teams, and then there's the next 3. And then, as far as playoff goes. There's a scrappy chance a team like Dignitas can manage to pull out a win because they've done it before, where they're down gold, down in towers, and they still win the game. Dignitas just does it, but when it comes to a best-of series, there's no way you can rely on capitalizing on a mistake to win at least 3 games against teams as good as the rest of these. Similar to Dignitas, a scrappy chance for 100 Thieves to be able to pull off some shenanigans and take a game or 2, but wouldn't get the hopes too high, as they will probably be feeling more in line with the competition on the bottom side of the bracket, especially in a week's time, and especially with the swap at mid lane. Ryoma's still probably going to be playing here for 100 Thieves as they go into the spring playoffs, who's looked good on his own, in his own rights, especially on Silas. He's done very well with that, but not sure it's a big enough fix in a quick enough time that 100 Thieves is going to be able to step up to the occasion. For Evil Geniuses, consistency is the name of the game. And that is, when they have it, this team is good and could be back where they started up there in that 3rd or 4th position. But they don't have the consistency, so they fall down to the #6 spot because you just can't rely on it. They're the last team in the playoffs, so they're going to be the last team here above that line. They are hit or miss, which kind of hinders them a little bit more. You can expect to see a Rise ban, potentially a LeBlanc ban, in respect for Jizuke, because when he does pop off, he pops off. But I expect EG to be out of the playoffs pretty early, and that's why they're the last team in, first team out. Going back out of the playoffs here, #7, Immortal's going to jump up back to this spot because of Counterlogic Gaming's consistency issues. Gives them this bump up here to #7. The team is looking to improve their solo lane play, the bot lane to clean up a little bit, although I gave them the most improved award over the entire spring split. There is good promise for the squad. They do have a decent chance of making summer playoffs that are top 8 that qualify. I think Immortals is in a good position where they just have to get a little bit better. They could start to breach into the top 6, but because records carry over, I'm not so sure. Summer, though, playoffs should be well within reach. Dropping down a spot here, maybe a little too quick on the knee jerk. CLG going to go into number 8 because they beat the best team in the league and then lost to the worst team in the league. So, by proxy, Golden Guardians is the best team in the league, apparently. Either way, they've improved substantially since we saw this full 5 come together with Brox and Poboter stepping back in, and this is going to be a phenomenal opportunity for this team to be able to really step up, improve their gameplay, and I put them in the same boat as Immortals. The only problem is that they are a game out of that 8th place summer playoffs position. Granted, the spring playoffs haven't even started yet, but they should have expectations. Summer playoffs are within reach. The last stationary for the last 2 spots, FlyQuest going to be staying at number 9. They only turned it over because of their win over Golden Guardians in the last week of play. They really didn't do much else. They had a good game against Dignitas, but Dignitas did Dignitas things. Ends up winning the game because of a great outplay from Alframu, and they end up with the 1-2 weekend. Eyes again to the summer, just like CLG and Immortals, looking to clean up the gameplay. I don't expect any roster changes for this team, but they very well could be the first team out in summer. I think 9th place is probably a position that they might find themselves in. Last but not least, the Golden Guardians wrap it up with a bow. A win over CLG means this team at least feels a little bit better about how they are, and they're better than Cloud9, so according to the table, they have the number 10 in the power rankings, but they're actually number 1 in the league. Signs of life have stirred up on the roster, and I think they are improving. They do have some levels of... there's definitely been a margin of success where they've started to pick it up a little bit in the middle. Niles finally went positive in a KDA. Not necessarily his fault that the team is performing like this, but I think this is now a roster where this team should look to continue to improve in the summer, but should not expect any results until spring of 2022. Eyes on the horizon for next year. With the same roster, maybe 1 or 2 players swapped out, but it's a development team. Looking into this weekend's games, though, best of 5s to start out, number 1, number 4, and then number 2, number 3. So Cloud9 and 100 Thieves facing off on the top side. Shouldn't expect it to be a very close series. I think 100 Thieves has potential. As I said, they have a scrappy sort of capability to pull a game out, and I think that's actually entirely reliant on Cloud9. They've said in interviews they have other compositions and other strategies they have not revealed yet they look to employ in the playoffs, and that's going to be about the only reason they drop a game, and then they'll realize, okay, that didn't work out the way we wanted it to, let's do something different, and they'll end up with probably a 3-0. There's a chance for a 3-1 if they decide to get a little bit edgy in their compositions with some new strats. The other game between Team Liquid and TSM, well, 5 games, because this is going to be a 5-game series. I expect this to go to a full 3-2. Don't expect reverse sweeps of any kind. I think it'll just be a trades back and forth. But this is going to be one of the best series in spring playoffs, and there's a chance you might get to see it again. But either way, anytime there's a TL or a TSM team on the top side of the bracket, one of these two is going to be in a good matchup, because expect to see them against Cloud9 next off. And then from winner of that, I expect the loser of TLTSM to come out of the bottom side of the bracket. So we'll get a rematch somewhere, probably. And that's kind of what we're looking forward to out of this. I think Team Liquid are in a better position. I think they are going to get to 3-2. And I think it's going to come down to the top difference. But who knows? Cloud9 wants TSM for sure, because Team Liquid has the biggest threat to beat Cloud9. And if Team Liquid come out on top of TSM, expect Team Liquid in a championship game. Significantly less to cover this week. That's why I was a little bit okay with going over time as far as my 6-minute timer for my team recaps. There's less on this end of it, but I will be making another video. I'm not going to redo any power rankings for playoffs. I got to finish up my stats. I have another episode of League and stuff that will be happening this week, pre-playoffs. We're going to be giving out some awards and superlatives to the players, so be sure to check out my Twitch for that, because that's where all of that is going to be. So I ended up in my predictions 57-33 on the season, which is, at time of going into Sunday, Well, I went 4-1, so I was 53-32. I would have been tied for 6th with the analysts going into Sunday's matches, and I don't know how they fared in Sunday, but it's over 60-65%, give or take, of success rate, and that's pretty good, if you ask me. For an amateur just watching the game, doing just as good as the analysts, doing just as good as the pros, to get paid money to do this. So, here's to hoping. Riot, hire me. But, yeah, my predictions, I'll probably just do this video type thing on Twitter, or just a tweet outright. Don't expect much. But either way, thanks for watching this one. Be sure to subscribe. All my socials and stuff are going to be down below. I will be back with my Baron Respawn Timer, the Summer Split Edition, when that does kick off. Until then, happy belated St. Patrick's Day. That's what the green light's for. Oh, it matches the background, too. I didn't even realize that. See, I'm so smart. Thanks for watching one more time. 3 more times. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.